so glad you're with me today. Today I'm going to begin showing you how to use, this is the Presto electric canner. And I'll tell you something, I absolutely love this thing. It makes life so much easier for me. I can boil a can in this, and I can also pressure can in it. But today what we're going to be focusing on is corn on the cob. I've already shucked and obviously taken the corn off the cob, put it in a Ziploc bag, and we're going to can this up today, get it ready for my canner. So when I plug the canner in, it starts with pressure can being lit up, okay? Now, there's a line right here. I don't know if you can see that. I have to fill it up, and I use warm water so everything is relatively the same temperature, because Presto wants you to warm your jars before you start canning. So this is warm water. We're going to fill up the basin until that line. And that is 3 quarts of warm water. That's the first step. Secondly, we're going to take our jars and fill each one halfway, the book says, with warm water. I'm using pint jars today. If you use pint jars, you can get 8 pints in this machine. So I've taken each jar and I've placed water in them, warm water, in halfway. So now they also give you a quick start guide. On one side is your pressure canning method, and on the other side is your boiling water canning method. We're using pressure today. So now I have to close the lid, and how we do that is you put it on top. Oops. You put it on top, and you see how it says install remove? That lines up with this little notch here. Then we're gonna lock it, take this off. We don't need this right now. Put that aside. Put this down. You hear that click? That's important. This is the X out button. This is the timer button. And this is the level forward button. It says pressure can now, but I want to go 1 level forward. Now they're saying, what time do you need to set this to? For corn, we turn the knob 55 minutes. Next, insert jars. They're inserted. Next, the jars are now warming. And that's it for now. Okay, so now we're at the next step. Okay, the jars are warm. Now it's saying we need to fill the jars. I have a pot of boiling water over here because we're going to be filling the jars with the corn. And we're going to be ladling the water in the jars until we have 1/2 inch headspace. Now, each pint jar is 2 cups of corn. We have 8 cups. I'm going to take a little bit. We really watch ourselves when it comes to salt, but I'm going to take a little pinch of it and just put it in the water. This is sea salt, by the way. Put it in the water and let this come to a boil. and then I'm going to turn it off. Then we're going to fill our jars just as the Presto is telling me to do. Now we're at the next step. The pressure canner is done warming the jars with the water being half filled in them. Now it's telling me to fill the jars. So we remove this and the top. We're going to take each jar out because they've been warmed. And I'm going to dump the water that's in them in the sink. In the meantime, over here I've put a little bit of salt in a pot and boiled the water because we're going to have to fill them up again with water and the corn. Just get these in here really quick. As speedily as you can because you want everything to be the same temperature if possible. Okay, now water is dumped. Remember I said each one, whoops, what am I doing? Each one is going to take 2 cups of corn. Okay, and you know, this took, now of course it depends upon the size of your corn cob. If it's like a regular size corn cob, it's going to be 18 corn cobs. And what I'm doing that I find helpful for myself, and maybe it'll be helpful for you, I'm putting together a little journal book. And when I do things like this, I'm writing in my journal all the notes so that I have something to look back on. And I can say, okay, honey, if we go to farmer's market or if we grow the corn, whichever it is, no shame here, by the way, that's what community is all about. Either we grow it here, we go to farmer's market, we have beautiful friends that have farms. Anyhow, okay, so I'll say, Rudy, honey, let's go wherever, or pick 18 cobs, and now I know exactly what I need and what I need to do, which is a real blessing when it comes down to it, because you know exactly what you need to purchase if you need to purchase it. It's a help. It really can be a help. Okay, so our jars are filled. Put that aside. Now we're going to, let me get my, I think 1 pot of water with a little bit of salt in it is just going to do it, and that's wonderful. This is a glass pitcher, by the way, and it works marvelously. Fill that one up a little bit more. Woo. I overfilled some of these, so I'm taking the water out because it's supposed to be a 1/2 inch headspace, and this one was way too full. Now we're there. Okay, so now after this, you know, we have to get our air bubbles out. Grab a butter knife, and we got to get all those air bubbles out. because we don't want air. Air is the enemy of food. It really is. To the rim. This is just salt water and corn. There's nothing sticky to deal with here. But they are wiped down. And now finger tight each jar. Make sure that the top is on correctly. And finger tight each jar. So now that my jars are filled and the tops are finger tight, we reload the canner. I did look at the water level. It's still where it's supposed to be, up to the line that they recommend. I'm trying to do this speedily because, as I said, everything the same temperature is better. You don't want jars that are broken, that's for sure. Okay, and again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pints is what this holds. Okay. We're gonna install, remove, lined up. Now we're gonna go down to locked. Press this down and over. Next level arrow, press that. Our jars are filled. Now it's going to heat them for a little bit. And then we're going to move on to the next step. Okay, so the next step, what it's telling me to do is, this is going to, it started at 10, we're at 5 now. When it gets to 0, it's going to ask me to now take the regulator on because the inside chamber is hot enough now to pressure cook the corn. And with a pot holder, because you see the hot steam coming out from that vent hole, you would burn yourself. So I take my pot holder and lift this up, and then I'm going to put it on there. Now, there's vent, and can is in the middle. This is shaped in such a way that, let's call this an arrow, okay? So I'm going to take it with my pot holder, put it on there, and right in the middle is where that arrow needs to go because that says can. And then it begins the canning process and the timer will come on. And if you remember, initially we set it for 55 minutes and it'll count down the pressure canning time. Okay, so now it started beeping, and as you can see, it says put regulator on. And then the canning process will begin. So I'm going to do that right now. And make sure it's right in the middle, just like that. Now we go back down to the advance button because we're ready for the next level, push. And there's our timer, 55 minutes. And it'll begin to count down. And once that's over, we'll be back. Okay, so once the pot has reached the pressure that it needs to reach, do you see that little thing? I won't put my fingers near it because I'll get burnt. There's steam coming out of it. It pops up, okay? Then in the cooling process, that should go down. We'll see you then. Processing time is over. The machine beeps 4 times. Then it could take up to about an hour and a half or so to cool down. Once it's cooled down, the little thing that was here that was up goes down, which it is. Now you take this off, and I can undo the lid safely and get my jars out and put them to cool. And as they cool, you're going to hear the popping, because that means that the jars are sealing. And when they're sealed, and after a while, I'd say a few hours of them cooling down, then I can take off the band and we have the finished product. I'm so excited. This is the second time I've had the opportunity to do the corn this season, corn on the cob. So now we have plenty for fall and winter.